Hey everyone, welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor over there, and we talk about movies on this show. Typically, anyway, this is actually kind of a special episode. Once every about 4 months, we decide to do a countdown episode where over two parts we will count down a top 50 of some kind. I mean, in the future we might do some smaller ones if we're picking some really specific things to count down. Like we're not going to do top 50 movies with turtles in it. That'll be a top 10, I think.
You'd be ambitious to get a 10 out of me on that one, I'll be honest. How highly do the turtles have to feature in said movie?
They can just be a pet in the background, I think.
Okay, that's a bit easier. But I mean, it's still pretty narrow list.
The point I'm making, though, is that depending on what we're doing, it might not be enough for a full top 50. Because obviously some things you don't have as many to do. Maybe a top 25. I mean, obviously one of our goals in Patreon is eventually to do a top 100, but that's a goal. That's a special achievement when we get there, and we'll do like a 4-part top 100 movie thing, just in general, all of our favourite movies. But this is going to be our top 50 movies of the 1990s. This is part 1 of 2. This will be numbers 50 through 26 from both of us. The way this works is Connor will give his number 50, I'll give my number 50, we'll explain a little bit for each of us, and then he'll do his 49, I'll do my 49, and so on. We'll alternate around. And we'll just keep going like that, and this going to be fun. We've done a couple of these in the past. We've done the top 50 movies of the 2000s. We also did top 50 sci-fi movies. This is just a personal favourites list. This is what it means to us. So it's just some stuff. If I've not seen a movie, it can't be on the list. Something may get added at a later date. That means in a few years' time, it may be worth coming back to some lists we've already done and redoing them, because by that point we'll have seen a lot more movies, perhaps, and we can.
I mean, I should hope so.
And we can. I've been really bad this past couple of months. It's worth mentioning this is our first episode of Influx recorded in about 3 weeks, and before that one there was like 2 weeks off before that. It's been a good month or so of like almost no Influxes because of the really, really busy TV schedule. It is nice to be back talking about movies, even if this is not a movie discussion itself.
It is,
yeah.
and it's weird because obviously you mentioned how you've been pretty bad at watching movies the last couple of months. These influxes are usually the reliable. Well, once a week I'll sit down and watch at least one movie.
Yes, usually 2 because I'll have streams, and then maybe 3 because there'll be a Gigawatts movie out in the theatre to go see. So ideally I get 3 movies knocked out a week just for the shows, but that's not been the case recently.
No, things have been a bit all over, haven't they?
Yes. Hell, me and Tim even missed the streams this week. That was not a planned thing. That was like a last minute, I can't do it, on Tim's part. But although I think we're making it up to you by having an extra one soon. So no promises.
Oh, is he making you watch that?
Look, he's watched this movie. He's willing to do an episode on it. You know what? I'll take the bullet. And we'll talk about a bad horror. I mean, you say that as if like half of our movies we review on streams aren't terrible.
Do you know what, the funniest part about this is Tim went, "Hey Pete, I just watched this movie. Do you want to do it?" And he goes, "By the way, it's atrocious." I like that you've agreed and gone, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Even knowing that, that's not enough to put you off.
I'll do extra. Honestly, like, I'll avoid a lot of bad movies in other genres, but when it comes to horror movies, for some reason I can sit through the absolute garbage, and there can be fun had in those garbage horror movies. But with that said, let's work this back round to the topic at hand, which is the top 50 movies of the 90s. And just, we should be back to a regular schedule. The plan for this is to have our next movie, which is the Patreon pick winner from last month, My Neighbor Totoro, or Totoro, if I say that properly, that'll be sort of a midweek kind of point, because this goes up, of course, early for patrons by a week. You'll get the next movie, and then you'll get the second part of this a week from now. So that's the plan. So you'll get that, and then we should be back to the regular weekly schedule. And as mentioned, I think in the last one we did a while ago, we do have extra episodes planned when things really quieten down, when all the TV we're currently doing dies down by the end of June. Once we hit July, assuming the schedule stays where it is, they might get bumped back a little bit, but we have at least like 5 make-up episodes, so that we'll actually fill in for all the weeks missed. If you're a fan of this show, so
They're coming.
Yeah, so basically, yes, the apology episodes are coming. Just give it another month.
They will be heavily noted as to, this is an apology.
This is the apology episodes, yes.
Yeah.
They'll be heavily noted, but we will do it, because we are reliable, damn it.
Yeah, I mean,
Professional.
we said we'd review an entire TV show for a joke, and we're gonna do it eventually. I mean, I say entire show. I meant an episode,
Yeah, the pilot.
but
Yeah, I was like, what show did we
I
agree to
know.
watch in
Look,
entirety?
it's a little later than I thought it was, and I'm going a bit loopy already.
Okay,
So
all right. Well, with that said, we'll get into this countdown then. So, starting off, of course, with number 50 for Connor. I think I'll say before we start this, though, just this is kind of a weird decade because
yeah,
this is the decade where we grew up, right? This is because obviously the 2000s we think of, give or take, our teen years, right? That's our high school years. That's where we maybe kind of started to get into serious films, and that's where we, went through puberty and everything else that's awful about those years. Um, 90s was childhood. 90s was the single digit years. And I think our list kind of, or I don't know, mine does, and you've said yours does as well. So I don't know what's on Connor's list. We don't tell each other. We let it be a
no,
surprise to each other. But I feel like you're going to see a lot of stuff I loved as a kid on this that aren't necessarily the greatest movies ever.
yeah, it's funny because I often say I'm not really that nostalgic for the '90s, even though I probably should be. And looking at my list, there's a few things here or there that are nostalgia driven, but ultimately, I find I don't actually like the '90s that much. I don't like them as much as I thought I
It's a
did.
weird year. I can tell you this as a horror fan. The 90s is a really bad decade for horror. I mean, there's a few good examples, but it's
Yeah,
definitely
I don't know if I've got much horror on my list at all, I'll be honest.
compared to the 2000s even, but definitely compared to the 80s and the 70s. Like horror is not anywhere nearly as profound on this list. So just keep that in
Yeah,
perspective. Keep in perspective that there will be some fun stuff, some dumb action movies, some dumb kids movies maybe that I just kind of love because I grew up with them and they mean a lot to me, as opposed to just versus actual like this is a fantastic quality driven film, which there are some, but I do feel like I have less of those for the 90s than I do for we did the 2000s already. I definitely feel like there's a difference in terms of the types of movies that you're going to see on this.
yeah. No,
So
it's funny because we've been doing these lists for a long time in the Facebook group. No, these are relatively
oh
new for
yeah,
the YouTube channel.
yeah. Personally speaking, yeah. I've been making lists for a long time, but yeah.
And this is the first time where I have struggled to find 50 that I really, usually it's like I can knock out 50 I love, no problem. Whereas I'm at the end of this going, yeah, that's pretty good. That'll do. Whereas
So if that doesn't
I'm
get you hyped up
surprised.
for this top
Well,
50,
I think that no, I think that's part of the surprise of my list though is that by the end I'm like I don't know where I'm going with this anymore. I'm kind of, usually I'm fighting to not okay, well that was really close to getting on here. I'd honorable mention. I don't have any honorable mentions for this one. Don't know about you.
I kind of do, but because I got to a point where I'd gotten down to 50, and then, or not, sorry, not 50, but I was, I'd sort of did a short list and went through all the years and picked out all the favourites from each year, and I had a list of like 80, but it was notable in that like a good chunk of them were, oh, I love these because I grew up with them. They're not necessarily the sort of things that would typically make it onto my best of lists. And then I started whittling down, as you do. I got down to about 60, and I found it really difficult to get that last 10 gone, because I felt like that last 10 and then like the bottom 15 of the 50 were all pretty similar in my head. Like it was hard to kind of
Mm.
juggle them around and pick which ones to get rid of. For example, like the last one I eliminated was a Sandlot, which is a baseball movie from my childhood. Lot of classic lines and moments in that, but I was like, okay, that was the one that got cut, but it took me a long time to kind of like, okay, what ones mean more to me than the others do, and it was kind of tough. But with that all said, 10 minutes into this bloody shambles, Connor, what is your number 50?
So my number 50 is Mission Impossible. The first one. It's a pretty fun, solid spy movie, and its music is obviously iconic now, and redefined the spy heist in terms of pretty much everyone
To
just
be fair
spoofs that.
though, wasn't the main theme from the TV show?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But the version that is spoofed now is always the movie version, which
Oh yeah, sure. It's
is a
always
bit different.
I was going to sing it there. I'm not going to. I
Yeah,
won't put you through. I won't put you through that pain.
Yeah, yeah, no, please don't. We've been down that route before.
Mm.
But there are differences between them. I hate to admit, but I had an entire lecture once on the differences between the two versions.
Did you also incorporate the Limp Bizkit version from the second movie?
No, no, we never got that far.
Have you heard that though?
I have. I have. I've seen the second one. I'll tell you now, the second one is not on this list.
It couldn't be, wasn't the 90s.
That's okay then. I've basically deleted the second one from my brain because it's atrocious.
Oh dear. Okay. Mission Impossible. It's an enjoyable movie. I think it's solid. I don't necessarily love it. I think most of the Mission Impossibles are good, but not great. Two is atrocious. Four's the standout for me.
I actually never got past two because I liked one
No, you should
clearly
see
here,
four. Four.
and
Ghost,
then I got through two. I was like, I'm never watching another one of these again.
Ghost Protocol is a fantastic action film. I highly recommend checking out Ghost Protocol. But anyway, my number 50, also an action movie. It's an action sci-fi movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's called Time Cop.
Okay.
And this is not a smart movie, right? This is a movie where Jean-Claude Van Damme is part of a time cop bureau where they go back through time to catch other time travelers from messing up the timeline. And it's as silly as it sounds, but I love it with all my goddamn heart. It is the epitome of action sci-fi stuff from the 90s. And I grew up on Van Damme, Arnie,
Yeah.
Stallone, all the rest of it. In fact, I'll tell you now, Demolition Man almost made it. It didn't quite get there, but it almost made it. And this is one that this is definitely in terms of plot. Certainly, it's a standout Van Damme movie for me. Not definitely probably not his best in terms of this has got the best fight scenes in it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's also got Mira, what's her last name from Ferris Bueller?
Oh,
She plays his wife in this.
okay.
And there's time travel stuff where his wife gets killed, but then he ends up going back to that night, and all sorts of crazy shenanigans. It's fun stuff.
That makes sense. No, that's been one of those that I have on the list that, one night it's just going to go on in the background.
Full of one-liners. It's great. I dig it a lot. But hey, what's your 49?
So my 49, this is one from the childhood that weirdly got rewatched not so long ago because literally in the last couple of months because a new release came out and the girlfriend bought it and she put it on and I happened to catch it and it held up weirdly better than I thought it was going to. And you'll have never seen this, and you might laugh at this, but this is the first Pokemon movie. Now, this is there's it's almost become a bit of a joke on the internet of the emotional core of that. Where they're all turned to stone.
Used to me, but go on.
You'll have seen the picture because it's used for a lot of responses and so like meme responses.
All right. Okay.
But that emotional core held up better than I thought it was going to because it's become a bit of an internet joke. I thought, it's just going to be a joke, but then I watched it. I was like, no, it actually still lands, and I was impressed. So, yeah.
I shall not fight you on it. My number 49. We're still in the action sort of genre. This again one that I grew up with. This is Last Action Hero, which often gets a lot of flack for being overlong and not like Arnold's best movie, but I kind of love growing up the idea that this kid who loves Arnold movies gets sucked into an Arnold movie and is then like his sidekick. What's not to love about that as a kid? It's full of meta jokes. There's digs made at Stallone. There's action sequences. They end up coming back out into the real world, and he has to deal with the villain from his third movie in the Jack Slater franchise. Because he gets sucked into the fourth one, of course.
Oh, obviously.
But then the villain, played by for Game of Thrones. Older dude from Game of Thrones. Come on.
I mean, you've got to give me more to go on than
Charles Dance. Charles Dance.
Right, okay.
Took me a second to get there. But he's there, he's got a glass eye, he's creepy as shit. It's great.
I do like Charles Dance.
It's full of meta stuff. There's a funeral on a rooftop sequence where the corpse starts farting and turns out to be a bomb. It's it's great. And it plays with action tropes where in the movie world, Arnie's fine. He can do almost anything, but when he comes back out to the real world, he tries punching a car window and almost breaks his hand. It does so much. I love it. A small bit of trivia here. I actually, growing up, I had watched a version taped from TV, and I had deleted a couple of scenes in the first act that I didn't see till I got the DVD in my late teens, and I was like, whoa, what are these scenes? I never knew they existed.
Were they deleted for a TV cut for like language or
No,
something like that?
I think it was just a time thing. They just wanted to get it to fit a slot. So these were just,
Yeah.
and to be fair, it didn't really affect the plot that much. And they're actually kind of dark scenes, but I don't think they were deleted because of that. It was just
Yeah.
they were taken out and had no effect on the rest of the
I
plot,
mean,
really.
that's something that you never get anymore, right? You know, the TV cut being just to fit the slot so differently. You know, now they'll just let it run typically.
It depends on the network.
Oh, okay. Fair. I feel like I haven't experienced that in a long time. Anyway, I mean, not that I watch that many movies
Yeah,
on TV
how
anymore.
many movies do you watch in broadcast TV now, though?
Not that many.
Yeah.
Maybe every so often when there's just I'll flick the channel and it's on.
Yeah, those days are gone. I've not watched a broadcast TV version of a movie in like at least 15 years at this point.
I watch maybe 20 minutes of a broadcast movie every month, and then I go, all right, I'm bored now. I'll go and do something else because I've missed the start of the movie. So it's always something I've seen before.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
So I'll catch 20 minutes and then I'll go, all right, I'll go do something else.
So what's your number 48?
So my number 48 is one that we actually covered on this show a little bit ago now, was The Mummy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it's a really fun adventure. And sometimes that's all you want.
Can't fault it.
Yeah.
That was quick. All right, move
It
on.
is.
My number
I
48.
haven't got much to say on that one. It's a fun adventure, and that's it.
Now, I promise this is at least the last one for now of the dumb 90s action movies, but this is super dumb. This is Con Air. This is a Nicolas Cage movie where he ends up on a plane full of criminals. You have an all-star cast in this. Steve Buscemi, John Malkovich, John Cusack's in there. Whole 9 yards. And honestly, when people say, like, what like, movie score tropes do you miss, right?
Yeah.
I miss the electric guitar in action movies. Go back and listen. Mark Mancina, I think's the composer's name of this movie. Go back and listen to the main theme from Con Air. It is the most badass sounding thing ever, right? So good. It's just a simple plot. He's on a plane. The convicts take it over, but he's actually a good guy. He was, he was defending his wife when he accidentally killed someone, and that's why he's in prison. He's about to get out, and then these convicts all take over the prison transport plane, and then he's like the one guy on the inside who maybe the good guys can count on to take them down. So he's kind of playing along. It's good stuff.
I will say, I do not miss the guitars.
Oh God, yes.
No, keep them gone.
Oh my God.
In doses it's fine, but as a as a
Look,
trope that it was. God.
Yeah, I'm not saying I want this for every movie. I'm saying for my big dumb action movies, I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with never hearing it again.
Like the Mad Max Fury Road soundtrack was fantastic, so I'm not really criticizing that. But I would not be opposed to adding in some guitar licks. That's all I'm saying.
Fine, you do you.
This is everything I love about dumb action movies, though. I mean, Nicolas Cage at one point gets shot in the arm, and he keeps walking like the Terminator. He doesn't even flinch to the fact that he gets shot in the arm. Like, he's not superhuman. He's supposed to be a normal person.
Yeah. What are those movies?
Yeah. Steve Buscemi's creepy, singing, you got the whole world in your hands. It's great.
Cool.
Good fun. Anyway, what's your 47?
My 47 is the one. This is where you give me shit for having this heinously low. But be glad it's on here at all.
It's a Tarantino movie.
It is a Tarantino movie. Do you want to guess which Tarantino movie?
Reservoir
I'll tell you
Dogs.
now, the other one's not on here.
Reservoir Dogs.
No.
Why is it Pulp Fiction?
No, it is. I prefer Pulp Fiction over Reservoir Dogs. I think it's still it's a bit overlong, but I had fun with this movie.
I feel like more people do. I just expected you to be the opposite because you have weird opinions.
That's fair. I think I can get something out of Pulp Fiction, more so than most of his movies. But it's on here. It's a good, well-made movie.
Ringing praise.
Yeah.
My number 47 is Army of Darkness Evil Dead 3, which I guess kind of counts as a horror movie, but I mean,
Yeah.
this one's kind of a bit more of an action adventure kind of thing. So now Bruce Campbell, this was like when Ash really became Ash, Boomstick, fighting the Deadites. Given the knights all, like he's got a book of chemistry in his car, so which came back in time with him. So they end up making bombs and explosives out of it, and they're like, oh, okay, this is advanced warfare for the time period, and they fight the army of darkness. And he's a lovable buffoon. It's not as good as Evil Dead 2. But obviously Evil Dead 2 is not a 90s movie, so that's irrelevant here, I suppose. But it's still really, really fun, and I think it is a really lean, brisk action comedy adventure. And I think when I'm comparing it to the others, I probably still like it more than the first one. But
Yeah.
this one's just a fun, silly blast. It's kind of, when you're watching Ash vs Evil Dead, the TV show, you kind of feel like, okay, they took a part of all the movies. They did it. Sometimes it gets scary like one, sometimes it's a bit more slapstick horror like two, and sometimes it's full on ridiculous adventure like three. But they took parts of all of them because they're all valid. They all have valid differences to the Evil Dead franchises, and I think three more than stands up on its own.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Like I say, I think it's when Ash really became Ash, when the one-liners really became what you think of as Ash when he says.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely to go back to the Ash vs Evil Dead the show. It's definitely an extension of the character from that movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my 47.
Yeah, cool. So my 46 is one of the rare sports movies that I quite enjoy, and that's Cool Runnings. It's got a real heart to it, hasn't it? And
it does.
It's so much it's got so much fun to it, and I think it is the heart to it that I feel like I don't get in a lot of sports movies. There's so much about the competition, and this one it's a bit more just silly in nature, I guess.
I'm glad you brought this one up because this is one that I had to cut. Like, it was close to being on there, and it just got cut. First of all, I think this is the movie when I was a kid that taught me about Jamaica. Like, I think I'd never heard of it when I saw this movie as a kid.
Okay, I get that.
And it probably taught me what Jamaica was. So growing up, all I knew about Jamaica was they don't like ice. Like, Jamaicans really don't like ice and snow.
Stands to reason, right?
There's probably some truth in that, yes. But no, it does have a lot of heart, and I think it was probably the first. And I guess spoilers for the end of Cool Runnings. It's based on a true story though, so it's not completely, plot spoilers in that sense. But it's probably the first movie I saw where the good guys lose at the end, and it was more about we did it.
And that's okay.
Yeah, we proved that we could do it. It doesn't matter that we lost. And I think that was a nice lesson to learn as a kid growing up. And John Candy's great. All the Jamaican characters are all great.
Yeah. Like I said, I think what separates it from most sports movies, it's not about the big victory. It's not about training to be the best. It's about the heart of it.
Yeah, it's about proving we belong. And I think there's something to be said about that. So there you go, bobsleighing. My number 46 is Cube. This is a very low budget sci-fi movie which had one set, and they reused their set masterfully, where all these characters wake up in a cube room. Each door on all 6 sides of the cube lead to another cube. The cubes are different colours. Some cubes have traps in them, and they don't know why they're there. They just have to try and figure a way to get out. That's all the movie is, and some of the acting's a bit ropey. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely some rough edges because of its origins and its low budget nature. But it is such a great little sci-fi idea. There's some great trap sequences. The psychology of them starting to not trust each other, of maybe one of them going mad, that kind of thing. All of it works really well. It's such a great. When I think of low budget movies that are made for next to nothing, but just they excel in their idea. The idea is just so good it doesn't matter. This is the one that I would think of, and you never question it. You never feel like, oh, this is being cheap, or this is being. Like it's dodging corners. Like, it feels like no, the premise works for what they're doing with it. There's some obviously nitpicks you can have if you really think about it and start to poke holes in it, but
you can do that with most movies if you really want.
It's a solid movie. Honestly, I remember the most surprising thing I learned about this movie afterwards is there's a character in it who's meant to be a teenage girl who I found out was 33 when they shot it, and I'm like, man, I never would like. I mean, sure, they always have someone older than the teenager.
But not that much older.
Yeah, but I was like, damn, all right, okay. So she's, but hey, so Cube.
Yeah, I saw the first 10, 15 minutes of that in a lecture once, and I went, I'm going to go back home and watch that movie, and then I never did, and I keep just not doing it for whatever reason.
I'm sure it's a movie we'll get to on in Flux at some point. It's
Yeah,
kind of our fare.
it is. Yeah.
But that's good. What's your 45?
My 45. This is one that I watched in English class. Because it's based on one of the books that we were studying, and I ended up loving it because sometimes when you're forced to read a book in English class, you'll kind of just hate it because you have to read it, right? And every so often there'll be one that you go, Joe, I like this, and this one I like the movie as well as Lord of the Flies.
Okay.
And this is it's the societal deconstruction, and just it's kind of ridiculous because it's kids doing it all, and it's dark at times. It's one of those something that I feel like a lot. I feel like we can talk about a lot of kids movies on these lists because this is where we have kids movies because we're nostalgic for them.
Yeah.
They're a bit darker than they are now, right? There are many kids movies from before that I feel like, oh, that's got some really dark elements to it. Whereas now I feel like I don't feel that very much with the ones that come out in the last 5-10 years.
No, I think you have to go to things like Stranger Things and stuff like that. There's examples,
but not things aimed at kids necessarily.
Oh,
like,
sure,
whereas,
yeah.
there are things here that are aimed at kids, but that actually have these really dark elements to them.
No, I get what you're saying. Never seen it. Can't comment. So.
Okay, fair enough.
My 45 is Lost Highway. David Lynch entry, of course. This is one that could rise when I see it again. I've only seen it the one time, and I liked it a lot. Kat, are you going to cause trouble?
I'm sure we'll get to it someday, so that you'll get an excuse to rewatch it.
Yeah, most likely. There's a few David Lynch films I still think are worth doing on the show, but
I don't disagree. I just didn't want to do them all at once.
Look, I just thought a Razorhead would have been good to do during the Twin Peaks time. All right, that's all I'm saying. You disappointed people. People were asking for more David Lynch.
No, they weren't.
They were.
They were going right. Okay, that's enough David Lynch for now. I'll come back in a year for some more.
It's been a year since Twin Peaks started, by the way. Just
I know, but I'm talking about since it ended.
All right, well then, in that case, September. Look out for some David Lynch movies.
You get one.
No, David Lynch month. You get 4. So Lost Highway, much like some of his work, deals with duality and different sides to the same person. It is a total, mind f.
It's a David Lynch movie.
It's a David Lynch movie. Okay. Bill Pullman's in there, a bunch of characters, a bunch of actors rather. It's got full of style like all his movies do. It makes you think. It's got the quirky humor. It's got all the stuff that David Lynch is made of. It oddly only suffers because it's like, well, he's done some of these themes, in other things, and they're better. They're even better than this one is. So it falters for that, but it doesn't change the fact that this is fantastic. So
yeah, that's always a shame with someone's work where you're like, this is great, but I've seen you do this exact idea or these themes better. So why not just watch the better one in future?
This is why I'm thinking when I watch it again, I might see more of the minutia, the more of the
what sets it apart from the other ones. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Because it's been quite a while since I've seen it. It's maybe been close to 10 years, which is why it can't be too high. I need to see it again to really appraise it any higher than this. But there you go. That's Lost Highway.
So my number 44 is Independence Day. It's big dumb alien blockbuster.
That came out when you were like 4.
Sure, what's your point?
I'm just saying, nostalgia's playing a factor here.
It is. We established that early on in this video that there's going to be nostalgia.
I'll just say, I point out.
Look, there's a reason I didn't go and see the new one because I don't want, and I probably might never rewatch this one, is because I don't want the memory tainted.
Have you only seen this once?
Well, no, I just haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't go, oh, I'm going to rewatch this before the new one comes out and go watch that. No, I left it because the memory is good enough. I don't want to watch it again and go, do you know what, this is kind of shite. Right? And I feel like that might happen if I watch it. So don't ruin this for me.
Hey, look, you got Jeff Goldblum, you got Will Smith, you got Bill Pullman, you got
Exactly. These are all the things that I remember as to why this is fun. But go on, ruin it for me.
I'm not going to ruin it. I like the movie. I grew up with it as well. Didn't make my list, but I enjoy it. one of Roland Emmerich's only 2 or 3 good movies. Universal Soldier being one of the obvious other ones. So, my number 44 is From Dusk Till Dawn, which is a half Tarantino movie, half Robert Rodriguez movie. Quite literally, there's halfway through the movie where it switches, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden we're in a Rodriguez movie. It was Tarantino before now. But it oddly works. It works bizarrely well, because it's like, okay, so here's these interesting characters doing the Tarantino dialogue. They're in this kind of weird, tense situation, like Tarantino characters often are. And, oh shit, there's vampires. We have to deal with this. And it gets silly as shit. I think it's a blast. I think it's not as amazing, perhaps, as I've heard other people kind of rank it, but I think it's a completely solid, like, interesting, different take on a vampire movie. And Tarantino's even in it. he's George Clooney's brother in this.
It's an interesting experiment of a movie, right?
It is, yeah. You got Tom Savini with the gun cock thing. There's lots of things going on there. So it's good. It's good fun. Good blast. Salma Hayek's in there as well. So no, it's a blast. It's kind of like I said, there wasn't a lot of horror here, and this does count as horror, but it's definitely not like full on into the horror.
It's not traditional horror, is it?
No, it's touching on horror and small bits and pieces and sort of some themes, but it's not. It doesn't feel like a horror movie for a lot of it. And then even once it goes into the vampire stuff, it still feels like it's more of a fun survival movie than it does a horror movie.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
But it's a blast. Fun characters, good dialogue, and some fun vampire action. So, From Dusk Till Dawn, solid stuff. What's your 43?
My 43 is actually a horror comedy, because not quite a horror, but it's getting there. This is Arachnophobia. This is a big dumb spider movie that I kind of love, and I will concede part of my love may be the fact that my younger brother has a spider phobia, so I would just put this on and watch him run out of the room.
He has arachnophobia, you mean?
I know, but I didn't want to just say the title again. I wanted to make this clear that I just wanted to point it out.
Okay.
And so part of that was the joy of torturing the younger brother, but I actually think it's a really fun movie.
So what we're saying is I have to get you to watch a movie called Needles. Is that what you're saying?
Look, if you could, you're welcome to try. But the fact is, I could stick a VHS on while my brother was in the room and watch him run out. You can't make me watch Needles.
Okay, Patreon goal has been added where Connor's going to sit down Clockwork Orange style and watch movies about needles and syringes.
I did not agree to this.
Oh, that's part of the fun. So that's a good movie. I like Arachnophobia. That's one I grew up as well. You got Jeff Daniels in there. Yeah. You got John Goodman, and you have some fun spider sequences of spiders crawling into shoes, and you're waiting for the old man to put his foot in the shoe and the slipper. It's good stuff. No, it's a solid movie. Again, it's kind of a low-key horror movie. It's not like full-on horror again.
Yeah, it is a horror comedy, but it's not a laugh comedy. Not compared to what you get nowadays, I suppose, as a horror comedy. It's
a light horror film. That's what I'd call it. It's a light horror film. My number 43 is Predator 2, which we did quite recently on the show. Some people hate Predator 2. I love Predator 2. Predator 2 is all that city Predator action that I enjoy. I like the cast. You got Bill Paxton in there, Gary Busey, as well as Danny Glover. It's got full of notable one-liners. The expansion of the Predator mythology is a lot of fun, and I genuinely like how it plays with the skyscrapers and the buildings and the action sequences. So again, more action stuff from the 90s for me, but it's kind of what defines the decade for me, honestly, more than anything else.
No, I surprisingly had a blast with that movie when we talked about it.
Despite not loving the first one, bizarrely.
What can I say? I'm a weird bastard.
You are indeed. What's your 42?
Oh, this is one where you're really going to call me a weird bastard, because I know you dislike this movie. Oh. I know that. Oh. But I really like it. This is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, you're mad.
I really like this movie.
You're mad. And I say this as someone, like, I have really read the book when we're talking about movies based on books. I have read Dracula. That was one I read in school. I wasn't forced to read that specifically. I got to pick a book, so I picked Dracula.
Oh, I never got to pick a book.
Oh, we had a couple of occasions where we got to pick one, and I picked Dracula, and I love the Dracula book. It's great.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
It's a fantastic book, and for me, this movie it technically does everything in the book, but it has to do it all in 2 hours, so it speeds through it so goddamn quick that I think it drains it of all of its atmosphere.
That's fair. I definitely think it's a little bit on the quick side. Don't get me wrong.
So that bugged me a lot. I feel like a checklist. I feel like, oh, here's that scene, tick the box, rather than really soaking in.
Because we never talk about it because it's so rare you've read the book. That's the source material. So it's so rare you have this complaint to talk about, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but no, I really feel that way.
No, I realise. I think Gary Oldman is phenomenal in this movie.
But there's tons of other versions of Dracula I would pick over it, which are far less faithful, but they nail the mood. And
that's fair. But how many of those are in the 90s?
Oh, very few, if any.
Exactly. Which is why this is the one from the 90s that is on the 90s list.
Dracula Dead and Loving It, that was the 90s. You have no idea what that is, do you?
No, I don't think I want to
know. Leslie Nielsen from Naked Gun and Airplane.
Right, okay, yeah.
He did a Dracula movie, Mel Brooks, and it was...
Oh, right.
It's not very good. It was a joke that I said that, but it was from the 90s. And it is technically an adaptation of Dracula, even though it's a spoof.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like some of their movies, though.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, some of those stuff's good. Naked Gun 1 and 2 are pretty solid movies.
I agree with that,
yeah. But yeah. So... I disagree, but you like it, so...
I do. I really do.
Interestingly, I have a witch movie at number 42. I have Hocus Pocus.
Just not to spoil him, but I have a witch movie in a bit.
Oh really? Not Hocus Pocus though. That's interesting.
Not Hocus Pocus, no.
Because I dig Hocus Pocus a lot. I grew up in Hocus Pocus. It is a kids horror movie essentially. You got the three witches and you got your teen heroes. And there's a lot of faces in this that I'm sure like are really big famous people now, but I don't want to actually guess them from memory because it's been a while. Sarah Jessica Parker's in it. She's one of the witches, but Betty Midler's one of the witches as well. But you got a talking cat, which that's points right away from me.
Obviously.
Obviously, but no, it's set on Halloween. This is like before I could get into horror movies as actual like proper horror films because I was too young. This was like, oh no, I love...
It's a gateway horror.
It's a gateway horror drug, yes.
Yeah.
So, I had fun watching this growing up. I have it on Blu-ray. When it came out on Blu-ray, I got the bastard. No doubts. No regrets even, I should say.
Of course. Do you know what? This doesn't surprise me coming from you, though.
Small town, kids running around trying to save the town from witches. Oh, come on.
I can't argue.
He even has like a kind of a musical number in it that I don't hate.
That is rare for you, actually. It's very rare for you.
I say, well, it's not. I mean, there's no dancing, but at one point, Sarah Jessica Parker sings a song. She's riding her broom and she's singing a song to lure all the children in. Because they sacrifice children to make them young again. That's their whole thing. But hey, Hocus Pocus, good fun.
Cool. My 41 is a Bond movie. Look. I love most of the Bond. I don't love all the Bond movies.
Hold on, is this a Dalton?
No, we're a Brosnan for the 90s. I think Dalton's last one was late 80s. I don't think he crept. Maybe just crept into the 90s. I'm not sure.
I wasn't sure. I figured he may have one at the start of the 90s. Not that I even necessarily like his movies. I just like Timothy Dalton.
You just like Dalton, yeah.
Not that I dislike Pierce Brosnan either, admittedly, but I don't like him as much as Dalton. That's for sure.
I like Brosnan more as a Bond. But I like Dalton more as just an actor in general.
Hot Fuzz put him in a map for me that will not be moved.
That is fair. I can't argue that. He's fantastic in that movie. But this movie was the Brosnan one. And this is Tomorrow Never Dies. This is the one where there are so many gadgets because we'd had GoldenEye and people complained there weren't enough gadgets. So they went... All right, you want gadgets? Here you go. You got everything. And
Is this the one with Lois Lane in it?
It is, yeah. You got Terry Hatcher and you got Michelle Yeoh's there as well.
Oh.
You have a phenomenal action sequence on a stealth ship.
I've never seen this one.
This is a blast. This is the goofier end of Bond.
Yeah, this'll hurt you to hear this, but the only Brosnan ones I've seen were the two after this.
Mm.
Was Die Another Day, I think was one of them, and World Is Not Enough with Denise Richards playing Christmas Jones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm very bad with names, but I will never forget that Denise Richards plays a character called Christmas Jones.
Those are not the best Bond movies.
No. Alright, well, you like Bond movies. That's fine.
I do like Bond movies. What can I say?
I don't. Even the good ones that are supposed to be liked, I don't particularly like them that much. I mean, they're fine. They're not awful, but don't do anything for me. My number 41 is a French film called The City of Lost Children. From, Jean-Pierre Jeunet from Alien Resurrection. He did Delicatessen, which we did in the channel and the show not too long ago. Well, I say not too long ago.
Not too long ago. It was quite near the start.
That was like episode 5 of In Flux, admittedly. Yeah, sure, but still.
That was over a year ago now, surely.
Relatively speaking, not that long ago. But I love City of Lost Children. This is like kind of the first movie with this art style that I went, you know what, I really like this. This is a science fiction film. Ron Perlman's in it, and it's this scientist has kidnapped these kids because he's trying to do experiments to extend his own life. Finally, similar to Hocus Pocus, I guess in a way when you think about it. But it ends up being about these kids escaping and Ron Perlman helping them, and it's just a gorgeous film. It's just one of these films where it's all in the atmosphere, it's all in the visuals. It's a really stylized look of this futuristic city. I dig it a lot. It's a great little sci-fi movie. I highly recommend it.
Cool.
What's your 40?
My 40 is The Usual Suspects, which is actually a weird one for me because the mystery itself kind of falls a little bit flat.
Do you know, I have to agree. Like, this is the thing. I watched that despite not knowing what the ending was. I felt underwhelmed with the reveal, and people always talk about that as if it's one of the greatest twists of all time. And
I think I love the character's reaction to the reveal. The aftermath of that. I really like that, but the actual mystery itself is a bit kind of whatever. But I think the characters have a lot of really fantastic dialogue back and forth throughout the movie that makes it really entertaining to watch.
Yeah. I was always kind of lukewarm in this. I was never like in love with it.
Oh, that's fair. I get it. Like I said, and this is for me. This is where the mystery itself kind of falls a bit flat. If that reveal landed for me, this would probably be higher. But I do think it's got a really strong script in terms of the dialogue.
Okay. Of course, this is one that is sullied on two ends with both Kevin Spacey and Brian Singer being involved.
It is
for relevance.
But what can you do?
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, American Beauty might have made my list before the Spacey stuff.
See, that's the thing. This one I can kind of get away with. You can kind of disassociate it a little bit more, right? Because it's not like reminding you of it.
Oh
constantly.
yeah, the plot in American Beauty outright reminds you of what he did, and it's just creepy. Like, I've not tried to watch it again because I don't want to. But,
No.
Anyway, so my number 40 is True Lies. We have a Arnold Schwarzenegger film here, and of course James Cameron also directed this. It's a really weird James Cameron movie though, because it is definitely like James Cameron wanted a light and fluffy film to make between these proper projects. I don't mean to say that to insult it. It is a fantastic action movie. You got young Eliza Dushku there. You got Jamie Lee Curtis as the way. Tom Arnold's there. Bella Paxton, of course, a Cameron regular, as the sleazy used car salesman. It is a cast of really entertaining characters. Some really good action sequences. You get one of the best horse chases in action movie history. And it's so over the top and great. The chemistry. You wouldn't think Arnie and Jamie Lee Curtis would have this great chemistry, but you know what? The girl who fought off Michael Myers and the Terminator actually do have a lot of chemistry, and it works. It's great.
Yeah, fair enough.
You not seen this?
No, I haven't. But you know me, I'm not big on Arnie movies in general, so I don't go out of my way.
All right, well, it's great. I love True Lies.
This is the thing. I don't think they're bad movies. They're just not for me. So I don't. You know when you go, I'm not gonna. This isn't for me, so I'm not gonna watch it.
It's kind of making fun of Bond in a lot of ways, because it even starts with him like coming through the ice and then taking off the suit, and he's got a tuxedo on underneath. It's got that whole Bond thing going. But this is, what if he was married? But he's also more interesting because it's Arnie. That's the.
But Bond was married.
For how long though? How many movies was he married?
One.
Out of how many?
I don't know, probably about 30 odd, I don't know. I'm guessing.
The entire point of this movie is that his wife finds out that he's a spy. That's the basic premise of the movie, and it's.
Oh, that's fine. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying.
But did she know? Did Bond's wife know that he was, James Bond the entire time, the spy, 007?
Sure, yeah. It's been a while.
Well then, different plot of this movie.
It is, yeah.
All right, what's your 39?
My 39 is Saving Private Ryan. It's one of the rare war movies I think's pretty solid. It's quite tight, and honestly, part of why I love it so much is it has phenomenal sound design. And I know people kind of don't like the shell shock effect. Kind of started with this, that you kind of see everywhere now, where it kind of fades out and you could come back in with the ring in. It's come kind of tropey. This popularized that though, so it's unfair to hold it against it.
I have to admit, I didn't even realize that was from this. I assumed that was just a thing before.
No, I'm pretty sure it was this.
Oh, I'll take your word for it. I just didn't realize that's what it was.
Yeah, no, but it's it's so standard now, right? That's just what you expect.
Yeah, I think it's a fine movie. It's not one that I necessarily feel the need to see again. It's kind of like it's D-Day stuff's fine. I think with a lot of Spielberg stuff, it gets really sentimental towards the end. And again, it's fine, but I'm not a big war movie guy, so it takes something a bit more special than this, I think, to really get me going.
I'm not usually. There's only a handful of war movies that I really like.
Yeah. My number 39 is Star Trek: First Contact. One that we will be getting to
eventually.
It's not even that long now because we're on season 3 of. Actually, no, it is long because it's after Next Generation.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was like, this will be another 5-6 years.
The first, the first 6 movies, the original cast movies, they're pretty soon, but Next Gen movies are a little bit far away.
Yeah.
So. That's the thing. But this is easily the one that stands out the most amongst them. It is a really solid sci-fi action movie. I have heard critiques of it. It simplifies a few things from the show. I can't have that opinion yet because I've not really watched the show yet. But so it'll be interesting to see how I feel when I get to this.
So this might go down.
It could go down
once you watch it in context of after the show.
It very well could do. But this is the one with the Borg in it. It's also got time travel back, hence the First Contact title, because that's it's when humans first made contact to an alien species. In this case, Vulcans was the first one. But no, it's got Borg, which are a great villain, very Brainiac-esque to put it into terms that I'm familiar with from other properties, and it's it's good. It's good stuff. It's got a great main theme as well. I really like the score. It's got a very 90s main theme, and not in like the electric guitar way. This is like a more I don't want to say more mainstream. There's a hope in the main theme. It feels very 90s in that way.
Okay.
The sort of thing that something that maybe Spielberg in the 90s might have a main theme like this, but it's
okay. I can picture it. The problem is I'm not familiar with the theme for this one, so I can't help you out on this.
It's good stuff. I really like it. But First Contact, I like it a lot.
Cool.
So what's your 38?
My 38 is Romeo and Juliet, the Baz Luhrmann one.
This with Leo DiCaprio and
it is, which is it's an interesting one because they kind of updated it, so it's all present day, give or take. You got cars, you got guns, but they kept the original dialogue, so you have this weird dichotomy going on, which sets it apart from most adaptations, which do one or the other, right? You adapt the premise and update the dialogue, or you just set it in the in the time. But no, this kind of tries to do both, and there are points where it kind of suffers for it here or there, but overall it's unique as a Shakespeare adaptation, and I really appreciate that. It's got some pretty fun action sequences, weirdly, with some car chase stuff, and it's different. You're not seeing this one, I take it?
No, I'm not a Shakespeare guy.
No, you not do this Shakespeare in school.
No, this one I think I did 3 over the course of my English years
Yeah.
in school. I did Merchant of Venice, Othello, and Hamlet were the 3 I did.
Okay, yeah, not bad.
Never did, because a lot of the other classes did Macbeth, but
Yeah,
our teacher said no, everyone does Macbeth, so we're doing whatever one it was instead.
that's because Macbeth's one of the best ones, though, isn't it?
Possibly, yeah. I'll take your word for it.
It is. It's up there.
Oh no, but I did 4. Didn't much ado but nothing as well.
That is my personal favorite Shakespeare. I love that one. But
All right.
it's fine. Go on.
But hey, what we on 38? My 38 is a comedy, in fact, which not often we get comedies on my best of list, but this is a really goddamn good one. This is Addams Family Values, and this is cutting edge wit. Particularly Wednesday, played by Christina Ricci, is fantastic in this. Raul Julia, who plays Gomez, he is fantastic. He obviously passed away not too long after this. He died quite young, but he is perfect in that role. Christopher Lloyd, is Uncle Fester, and the first Addams Family movie is pretty good, but this takes it and really amps it up. Also, when Wednesday gets sent off to summer camp, the rival bully girl is none other than Mercedes McNabb, who played Harmony in the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, there we go. I hope you've got one for the top half of your list.
It's
Separate
the 90s.
video. No, it's a separate video. You need a separate reference.
I know, but I'm saying it's the 90s. I'm sure one of the actors pops up
They're
in something.
everywhere. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm sure it's going to happen. I mean, I don't think I Know What You Did Last Summer deserves to be on my list, but I might slot it in now just to make sure. Just to make sure there's a.
Do you know what the worst part is though? Because you can change your order for anywhere above where we are now, and no one would ever know. The problem is, if you wanted to put that in, you'd have to bump something off, and not a low one. You'd have to
and
bump
for the
top
record,
half off.
on principle alone, I never alter once we've started these.
Do you not?
No.
Oh, I tinker all the time. I change my mind on things like as I'm looking at my next few slots, I'll be like, I'm going to change that around and then change the order a little bit.
Oh no, I once I've made my choice, I'm living and dying by that until we do it again.
No, it's not set in stone until I've said it on the video, and that's it. Once I've done that, that's it. Obviously, no changing it then. Tough shit.
All right, Addams Family Values, very very good comedy. So, in the plot of this one, the main plot was Uncle Fester getting married, but she was a greedy gold digger who killed all of her husbands for their money.
Sounds fun.
So the family have to protect him. Anyway, so yeah, it's just good stuff. Also, I didn't know him at the time, but Lurch is the tall man from Twin Peaks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, fun bit of retroactive trivia for us now that we're Twin Peaks fans. What's your 37?
My 37 is this is one that I'm sure you've never seen, because I think the idea of you watching it might set you on fire. This is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, I've seen it.
How much do you hate it?
I despise this film.
Yeah,
Do you know how many girls have just written me off because I've revealed I don't like this film? Girls love this movie.
They do, don't they?
For some reason, this movie, for our generation, girls just love it.
They do. It's a great movie.
And you know what? My looks already discount me for a lot of people. And then I say I don't like this movie, it's like, well...
that's that whole subculture just
yeah,
gone.
that's just that entire subculture gone.
It's a pretty
Upsets
big
me.
subculture as well.
I know, it's absolutely heartbreaking.
No, this is probably the best work Danny Elfman has ever done. Yeah, it is.
Sure.
Yeah,
Can we fight you on it?
The movie lives and dies on him, and it's it's a Christmas movie, but it's not really. It's a Halloween movie, depending on who you ask. Take your pick. It's I have had people seen them fight over which one it is. Some people are determined to say no, this is a Christmas movie because it's about Christmas, but others are like no, but it's set at Halloween, so it's a Halloween movie.
But is it Yanni or is it Laurel?
Do you know what? I really hate that I heard that and then immediately just deconstructed it from the recording point of view.
I didn't do that.
It's both.
But for the record, every time I hear Laurel, I never hear Yanni at all. Just for the record, if anyone's curious.
Just for the fun of it, on that one. Yanni is higher pitched than Laurel.
So younger people.
So the younger people, but also if you cover your speakers, like if you do it on like a phone speakers or something, and you cover it while the speaker while you hear it, that'll block out all the high frequencies, so you'll hear the low one. And you can alter it like that. So you can cheat around the recording if you want.
This felt a lot more manipulative to me than the blue and gold or the blue and black and the yellow, the golden white dress.
Yeah, because that's reliant on a perception, whereas this is no. There's a physical trick here that I can quantify.
And for the record again, I always saw the same thing with that. I always saw white and gold, always. It wasn't until people did those. It wasn't until people did those gifs where it changed, where I ever saw the blue or black. I never saw it.
Oh really?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
At the very least, I'm not wishy-washy. Once I see or hear one of these things, I always see the same one. But
yeah, no, this one I heard it and I was like, "What's the trick here?" And immediately I'm like, I'm messing around my speakers. Going,
they're both there. They're tricking you. Because I remember in school actually, someone had like a noise on their phone, but the teacher couldn't hear it.
Oh, because it's too high pitched.
Too high pitched. Yeah, it was like, oh, we're all still under this age, so we can all hear it.
Yeah. There's actual like tests that you can do on YouTube for that, where you can go, all right, where did you hear and drop off? And some people will go, nah, it just stops playing. It's not actually making a sound. They think it's like a joke. But no, it's fun to do if you want to know just how bad your hearing's got.
You said I'll get bad hearing then?
I'm saying, I mean, I don't know, because the threshold for this isn't that bad, to be honest.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
But,
that's fine.
Well, go do one of those tests and get back to me. Then I'll tell you if you got bad hearing or not.
What were we on?
Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's right. Oh yeah, that shit film. Right, so.
I love it. It's a holiday staple.
Do you know what gets me about it more than anything? I hate how the characters look. I hate the design.
Really?
I despise it. I hate those skinny little arms and everything about it.
I love the animation on it. I think it's such a sleek animation for.
I feel dirty watching it. It creeps me out. I don't like it.
I knew you'd hate that movie. That's why I assumed you hadn't seen it, because I just thought there's no way you've watched it, because it's such an anti-Peter movie.
Tim Burton didn't even direct it, and it's the most Tim Burton thing ever.
It really is, and. He might as well have directed it, right?
Yeah. Oh, but spoiler, guys. There'll be 0 Tim Burton films on my list. I can guarantee you that with a passion.
I don't think there's any other Tim Burton films from the 90s that I have on mine.
Most people would say Edward Scissorhands, but no, I don't like that either.
I'm not big on that one. No, I don't think I've got any of his from the 90s. This is the closest I've got, and it's not technically his, even though it basically is.
Well, my number 37 is a horror film. Notably though, a foreign horror film. We had to rely on the Japanese doing this. This is Ringu, or The Ring to translate it. This is of course the original. You watch the tape, you get a phone call, you die in 7 days, and it's all about the mystery and the countdown of we've got 7 days before we die. We have to try and figure this out. And how do we do this? And it's played very much like a mystery, an investigative mystery, and a really sad, dark story. And it's easily the best thing in the franchise. Like, the sequels immediately got really bad. The remake, some people really like the American remake. I don't think it's that good. I think it's really bland and just kind of.
I never liked it. As soon as I saw, and I'm like,
it's not the worst.
What's the big deal?
The sad part is that it's better than it's the second best film in the franchise.
Yeah, but it's nothing to shout home about, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the Japanese sequels are really bad. The American sequels are really bad. The only thing that I do kind of like a bit more is Sadako versus Kaioku.
I knew you were going to go with that.
But that's like a fun, dumb thing.
Crossover movie.
Yeah. That said, though, there were more Ring movies from Japan that I've not seen yet that were called Sadako. There was two of them.
Maybe there's a couple of good ones out there you've just not got to yet.
There could be terrible, but I'm sure me and Tim will dive back into that at some point. Because we did all the ones called The Ring at one point. Before we did Sadako vs. Kaioku, we did all the Ring Grudge movies that were relevant, but there's more that we didn't do.
Which franchise do you think is better overall? Not just individual movies, but taken as a whole.
First Grudge is really good. Sequel's terrible.
Yeah.
The American remake of The Grudge is much better than the American remake of The Ring, so I guess by that, just by default, then The Grudge wins. But they both have really bad sequels. And
I'm just thinking, gun to your head, you have to watch all of one of the franchises, which one do you choose?
There's less Grudge movies, I think. No, that's not true. Actually,
Is it not?
it's actually the same. I mean, if you're just going with the mainline
Yeah.
ones, not any of the other John movies, not any of the Sadako movies, just going with the mainline ones. There's 2 and 3 between the countries. It just switches. There's 3 Japanese Ring movies and then 2 American ones, or actually no, there's 6 now because Rings exist. Oh, definitely Grudge.
Sure, I'd forgotten that existed as well.
Yeah, there was a new one came out last year, which was terrible, by the way, guys. Just a warning.
It just tells you how much of a flop that movie has to have been.
Oh god, and they delayed it
I
as
just
well.
forgot it existed.
They delayed it because it was meant to come out October the previous year, and they delayed it by like 5 months.
Yeah.
But that was a bit of a tangent. But yeah, Ringu, the first one's really good though.
Yeah.
It's a really solid horror movie. It got remade and entered into the zeitgeist and basically spawned the entire J-horror, girl with long hair type of horror movie for a reason. So,
I'll be honest, I forgot about this one, so it probably
Yeah.
would have made my list somewhere.
and I mean, I think I like the Grudge more. The original Grudge I do like more, but it only exists because this does.
Oh yeah, but
So
the Grudge is better.
yeah, the first Grudge I like more too.
Yeah.
But hey, that's not an 80s movie though, for the record.
It's not, which is why it's not going to show
Yeah.
up. So my number 36 is Die Hard 2, which
Die
is
Harder.
Yes. Not necessarily the best of the Die Hards, but I really like the airport setting.
I mean, maybe this is like asking for a rehash of the first movie, but I kind of wish it was like confined to the airport.
No, that's fair. I can appreciate that.
But I mean, hey, it's whatever. This is what it is.
It is, but I do like what it does with it, and it I think it does a really smart thing with the main character of, in the first one he's just a nobody, right? And that's the idea. Where it plays the idea. Oh no, he went through that, and people kind of know who he is to an extent now, right? He got a bit of a reputation from it.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets more as you go through the franchise, obviously, but in that one already, he's like a bit more respect,
Yeah.
and it plays with that and how it affects him, and I do like that quite a lot.
Okay. No, I mean, I enjoyed Die Hard too, but it's definitely like out of those original 3, I would put that probably last.
I probably would too.
Oh, I guess I know what's coming up later on your list. Die Hard 5 though is like basically action movie cancer, so don't watch that.
I'll be honest, I tapped out after 3.
4's not the worst thing. 4's got some fun moments.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
ideas.
but I thought 3 rounded me off quite nicely. I'm good there.
5 is just straight up garbage though. I saw that in the theatre, may I add. My number 36, completely opposite from a Die Hard movie, is a film called Before Sunrise. It's a Linklater film with Julie Depley and Ethan Hawke, and they meet each other at the train station in Paris, and they spend the night talking to each other, just walking around the city. And it's not real time because it's the whole night, so it's like a 90-minute movie. But they talk, they fall in love, and they have to go their separate ways in the morning.
Okay.
And that's the whole film. It's funny
Sounds
because
like a Linklater movie.
Linklater, like, I will criticize Boyhood a lot, but I think his Before trilogy are fantastic low-key dramas where it's just character dialogue and it's just bouncing off of each other and how do these two people relate to each other. I don't think it's the best in the franchise. I think the second film, which was on my 2000s list, Before Sunset,
Yes.
is an absolute, like, as far as like just a movie about two people talking to each other goes, that's the masterpiece. That's the one you put at the top.
No, I'm with you. I think it's funny, when he lands, he really lands, but then sometimes it's like, okay, this is just a gimmick, right?
Yeah. I think this works because it forces really good dialogue. It forces, okay, this script has to be tight. Your actors have to be fantastic. They have to sell this really well. No,
it makes sense. When your gimmick is just this simple, you've got to make up for it elsewhere. Whereas with Boyhood, when the gimmick itself is, oh no, well, it's real time almost. You can kind of play on that.
Well, no, he's aging in real time. That's
what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, because if you said something's the gimmick's real time, I'd assume it meant it was playing out in real time.
Yeah, and I know in general you would, but I think people are familiar with what Boyhood is, so that real time in context, they knew what that meant.
And I think what's great about the trilogy as a whole is that there are these big 8-year gaps between each film. So next time you see them, they're like, they're in the 30s, and then the next time you see them, oh, they're hitting 40, and now they're like, they're this age with kids and whatnot. So I
Yeah.
like how it plays with the passage of time between them, and it does make me wonder, like, the last one was like 2011, 2012. Like, do we get one in
Are we due
2020?
another one? Yeah.
Yeah. It might work. It might actually work to give us another one. But at the same time, it had like kind of a nice ending to round it off. So I don't know. But hey, I was 35.
My 35 is something I watched at the start of this year for when we did Sci-Fi Month. But it's just snuck in here. There's Tremors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a blast with this movie. And
Starring Earth's mightiest hero.
exactly. So it's a bit of a dumb B movie flick, but hey,
Do you know what
those
just
are
occurred
fun.
to me? That Kevin Bacon joke from Guardians that's been showed up a couple of times. Like, Red Letter Media already did that joke essentially in their Star Wars Plinkett reviews, and it's making me wonder if James Gunn's a fan and that's why that's a joke in the movie.
What was the joke in the Plinkett review?
Basically, there's a section of the Phantom Menace review where they're talking about what makes a protagonist, right? And your typical protagonist is this, down and out guy, and he's got like something to prove, and he's hard on his luck. And it listed a couple of things, Marty McFly, this that, and then the joke is at the end. It just says Kevin Bacon, and Kevin Bacon, right? The
Yeah.
idea that he himself can just be that example. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering now, like,
Maybe.
did that in
Yeah.
some way influence the joke in Guardians being that everyone else that Peter tells the story to just thinks that Kevin Bacon himself is the hero? I don't know. That's funny.
Maybe.
Anyway,
No, that's fine. Just on that, it was the writer for the Expanse books was tweeting. They got a review from somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but it was one of those sorts of places, and they were like, "Oh, this is fantastic! I always wanted one of these."
oh yeah, I think it was like I don't know what the place was, but I saw this. He said he just needs Cinema Sins and Red Letter Media to do a review, and he's
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, and people are like, "Do you really want that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do. You go into it. I don't care."
I wonder if George Lucas feels that way. I wonder if he's cool about the.
Probably
We're-
not
well-
quite as confident.
They've got someone playing George Lucas, like going nuts at cons because people are selling bootleg copies of the Christmas special.
Yeah, yeah,
Dear. But aye, Tremors, a fun
Yes.
horror comedy. Yes,
it is. It is.
yeah, monster movie, good stuff. Yeah, Kevin Bacon almost came back as a TV show, but didn't. That said, there are like 6 direct-to-video sequels now with the other
Yeah,
dude with the
yeah,
mustache.
I don't know if I'll bother ever watching any of them. Or what one might have been enough.
Hey, I know at least one person who swears by them.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like I can't trust him on this.
I know.
I feel like he's got some rose-tinted goggles going on.
Well, he puts Tremors above like everything, so
Yeah, Tremors would be top 10 on his list. So he can't be
that would be
trusted.
top 10 in his all-time list. Never mind 90s list.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, my number 35, going completely different. It's a sports movie, so and it's my favourite of this franchise. Although I do like all 3 to varying degrees. This is D2 of the Mighty Ducks.
Ah, right.
I grew up on this shit. This was, I mean, I have never played ice hockey, but there was a time when I was a kid I would have been up for it if you if you said, "Do you want to go try out ice hockey?" because of this movie. Well, this trilogy more than just the movie
Yeah.
itself. But this is the bit because obviously they win the local championships in the first movie. This is them going to the world championships. And by the way, I've made a lot of jokes in the past about how Pitch Perfect 2 basically stole its entire plot from D2 the Mighty Ducks. But it kind of is in the sense that they won the local thing. They're going to the worldwide stage. Their villains are these Europeans. In this case, it was Iceland, and. Again, I'll critique that they picked Iceland because it's got ice in the name. They must be good at hockey. But no, it's everything I want in a kids' sports movie. It's got fun characters. It's got a fantastic soundtrack. The main theme of Mighty Ducks. I don't know if you're listening to it, but it's a great brassy fanfare.
I might have heard it, but I'm not. I don't know it just off the top of my head. I've not seen these movies.
Oh, it's great. But no, ducks fly together, flying V's, all of it. I love it all. It's great. Young Joshua Jackson's in there. A few other faces you might recognise here or there. In fact, Foggy from Daredevil, he's one of the Bash brothers
All
in
right.
this. That was kind of funny when they cast him in Daredevil. I was like, man, I've not seen him since, well, Mighty Ducks 3, basically. Like, I don't know what he's been doing since then. But every so often you'll see one of them pop up in something, except Joshua Jackson, obviously, who's actually, been in Fringe and shit and notable
He's
things.
a proper actor.
Yeah, Dawson's Creek, and had a career, I guess is what I'm saying. Obviously, Emilio Estevez, but he was already an adult. He was the star because he was the,
That
the
doesn't
known
count.
force.
Yeah.
But hey, so no, really, no, I have a lot of love for the Mighty Duck franchise, and I think two is the pinnacle.
Is that the peak duck?
That's the peak Duck. And I love that. You know how the trope in sports movies, the slow clap, where they just start clapping. It's just one person, then it gets faster and more people join in. I love that in the Mighty Ducks movies they have that, but instead of a clap, it's chanting the word duck. Oh, sorry, no, they're chanting the word quack rather. Sorry, I messed it up there. But they're like quack, quack, and also and the crowd's all chanting quack. It's great.
Okay.
Mighty Ducks fly together. Anyway, what's your 34?
My thought might be the first instance we've had of a duplicate.
Oh my!
Yeah, because mine is Army of Darkness.
Well, you got one right at least, so that's nice.
Oh, what's that supposed to mean?
You had Nightmare Before Christmas a few entries ago, so you don't get any.
Look, be happy this is above it. Take what you can get.
Yeah, but I'm worried about some other things that might be above it.
Oh, I've got one coming up in about 5 entries time that you're gonna despise.
Oh god!
Can't wait.
Oh god!
Yeah, but no, you covered it all earlier. But this is such a fun blast, right? Army of Darkness. It takes I think 2 is better than the first one in general anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But then this just isn't a better movie, but it takes the fun and just runs with it, and ends up being a blast of a movie because it just does a lot of ridiculous, stupid shit, and it makes Ash pretty lovable compared to before.
Klaatu Verada. Klaatu Verada Nikto, for the record. I remember that not just from that movie because it's also a line that's featured in the original Day the Earth Stood Still. It's actually a phrase that was using that as well. Yeah. So, so I know it from 2 movies. Hence why I find it easier to remember. My number 34. We're back to Arnie. Features a lot in this list, seemingly. This is Kindergarten Cop. Yes.
Okay.
One of the most quotable movies in his entire filmography.
Go on then.
Who is
You
your
set yourself
daddy?
up there.
Who is your daddy? And what does he do? Which, by the way, one of the girls playing in that game is now Sam on Supergirl. Which is, do you know, I was joking that I've not seen people from Mighty Ducks until Daredevil. Yeah. This is like one where I didn't even know it was her until someone. Oh, by the way, that was that girl in Kindergarten Cop. Like, what? And I think what's insane about that is that movie came out when I was 2. So obviously, I saw it a few years later when I was like 6 or whatever. Yeah. But it's funny to me that she's just a few years older than me, but like. She was that young when it's funny to me. It's just it's funny that I saw her in a movie when she was that young, and that was like maybe like 3 years older than me at the time when it came out, and now she's like an adult and TV shows and shit. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, well, you're an adult too, I suppose.
Debatable. Depends on the definition.
I don't think I'll fight you that hard.
Yeah, but no, that's funny. So now, who's your daddy? What does he do? It's not a tumor. That's Kindergarten Cop. I'm the party pooper. That's one from.
So what he says, it's about half of the Arnie soundboard.
It genuinely is. It's so good. Oh, there is no bathroom. That's one of my favourites. It's so good. Him dealing with kids is glorious. There's an action movie plot there, but it's such a good action comedy. It's full of great little moments. It's part of the Arnie comedy. Trilogy, if you want to call it that, which was Twins, this, and then Junior, all directed by Evan Reitman. Of course, Danny DeVito was in 2 of them, not this one. But his partner in this was the wife in Junior, so there's a lot of overlap between the 3 of various people on and off screen. But I dig this one a lot. I wouldn't say it's my favourite because I actually really like Twins. That was from the 80s though, so that won't be popping up here. But Twins is a blast. But this is extremely fun. And I think what I like about these movies, not so much Junior, because Junior's not that good, but this and Twins is that it really shows that Arnold's got really good comedy chops. Like, he actually does do really well. Again, people don't give enough credit. You know, obviously he's got the big accent, which really makes people think, oh, he's not a good actor. But you know what? He actually does a lot of really subtle things that work. He's got charisma.
Alright.
He's never lacking charisma. So, what's your 30 something? 3.
33.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a children's horror movie. Because, yeah, we've spoken about a couple of these already.
Right, so obviously it's Hocus Pocus. Go on.
It's not, I'm telling you, that's not on my list. I'm sorry.
Oh, what is
This
it
is
then?
better. This is The Witches. This is, based on the Roald Dahl book. What is wrong with you?
The what? No, never heard of it. Never heard of the movie, never heard of the book.
I feel like I just need to get a box set of Roald Dahl books and just smack you around the head with them
My
until
number
like you just
32.
absorb it by osmosis.
My number 32. Go on then, see it's
Oh.
piece, why do you like it?
So The Witches is fantastically dark. It's it's a bunch of witches. They're having a convention. They're meeting in a hotel, and there's all these tales. They're wearing like masks and stuff, so they look like ordinary people. But the kid gets turned into a mouse, and it's this adventure of with these witches and discovering that the horror of what these witches are, and they unpeel their faces, and it's terrifying. As a kid, obviously, it's pretty creepy, and it's just they're fantastically evil and vicious. I will say the one thing I really don't like is how they changed the ending from the book. They basically give they give it a Hollywood lick of paint.
Okay,
They give it a
happier
nice
ending.
happy ending.
Yeah, okay.
I'm like, it's a bit boring.
Yeah.
But
So, I don't know, this sounds like it's actually your autobiography of your childhood, and this is your mother you're talking about, but I mean...
no, I do have a real soft spot for this story though, and I think this is one you'd have enjoyed. I'm surprised you never
Okay.
saw it. It seems like your sort of thing.
No, I mean, my childhood witch thing was Sabrina, I think, growing up. Watched that on the... On
No,
the
I big Roald Dahl fan though. I read all the books.
No, I never did. I read a couple of Goosebumps books. I can't remember which ones I read, though.
Oh, I read a lot of Goosebumps books.
I watched a lot of Are You Afraid of the Dark, though. That was kind of the anthology show that I saw a lot of as a kid.
Do you know what? I never watched any anthology shows. I just read most of the Goosebumps books.
Interesting. My number 32, or 3, rather, we're on 33.
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead. Is Scream, the Wes Craven horror film from the 90s. This was kind of the satirical take on the slasher genre, kind of like looking back, and has a lot to answer for in the sense that it spawned a lot of really bad movies because they were all trying to mimic Scream. But Scream did have a lot of fun things to say about the horror genre. And Wes Craven, who we've not lost, unfortunately, a lot of the big horror directors are actually starting to, really, pass away. We've lost, quite a few of them now.
I think it's the part of the heyday of horror being the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
Or of the horror that you associate yourself with most.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, have to be in their 70s now, or most of them have died in their 70s. But yeah, so this is a look back at the slasher genre. He's critiquing them, even his own movies, because there's some jabs at Nightmare on Elm Street. There's obviously a lot of jabs at Halloween in there. I think I'd critique it in places for not actually being much of a horror movie. Like, it almost works more if you just watch it as a satire of horror movies rather than of a scary movie. Because that was something the franchise did away with over time. Like, if you watch Scream 4, it's not even trying to pretend to be a horror movie anymore. But
Do you know what's funny is I don't think Scream as a movie pretends it's a horror movie after the opening scene.
okay,
Right?
yeah.
The opening scene plays like a horror movie, and then it subverts you at the end of it. And it's like, no, this ain't that sort of horror movie. And then it plays as a satire. I think it's the part of like the marketing, the advertising, the way it's sold is, oh no, this is a horror movie, but it's clever, right? It is the way it's sold to the people.
It definitely takes itself a lot more seriously, though. I think if you watch Scream 4, you feel like, okay, we're not even trying to pretend this isn't just satire anymore. Whereas I think the first one does actually take itself seriously. There is some good blood effects here. The kills aren't amazing though. That's kind of where it falls down as a horror film. But I think as a satire, it works really well.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
And it's got a really interesting cast of characters. And no, it's good. And I'm not a big Marco Beltrami fan, but he's got some music cues in there that work for its time.
I really like Marco Beltrami. I think he does a lot of really great unconventional scores.
Interesting.
This isn't one of my favorites from him, but he does a lot of just very unconventional sounds for his music.
I will say I actually didn't know this until years later who this song was by, but the song it plays as it goes to the end credits is Moby, and I actually really like that track. And I'm like, oh, I like Moby. That makes sense that I like this song because it's actually one of his.
Everyone likes Moby.
Well, sometimes he doesn't have lyrics in his music, so you can't even tell it's him. It's just it's moody, atmospheric, kind of upbeat kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm with you.
Stream, what's your 32?
My 32 is Aladdin because we had the big Disney renaissance in the 90s.
It's a whole new world. Or
Yeah.
is it Brave New World?
No, I think
Whole new world. Okay, I was questioning myself. You give me this look. I was like, did I get it wrong?
No. It was just the fact that you felt the need. That was the look. You couldn't help yourself. You just had to go. Oh, I'm going with it. You thought of it, and you no filter.
I wish Disney would do some whole new things.
To be fair, their animated stuff is still pretty fresh.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. As a whole, though, it's a lot of Marvel and Star Wars sequels.
I mean, as a whole, as a company, I can't argue with that.
And remakes of animated stuff because they got the live action Aladdin coming. They've been casting that.
There is. I mean, I don't know how good it'll be because the live action movies have been varied. I don't think any of them have been outright bad. At least not the latest.
Oh, they've not. I think there's just maybe some that I just don't care about to see. And Jungle Book was not bad. I actually kind of like Jungle Book, but
Jungle Book was very good. Yeah, I really like Cinderella as well.
I've not felt compelled to see any of those yet, though.
I think a lot of the other. I think Jungle Book's the only one that defies the trend so far. Whereas the others, it's like, yeah, if you've seen the original animated movie, you don't need to see this. It's kind of a really straight retelling.
Yeah.
Whereas Jungle Book kind of brings something new to the table, right?
Yeah, no, it does.
Tells a different side to it. But as for this is Aladdin, Genie. It's got a lot of really strong comedy on this one. As to be expected, but just it's this period of Disney, they're all pretty good, and I think this is the lowest one I've got on my list. So maybe another couple to show up still.
I've got a joke to make about another one, but I'll save it because I think it's going to come up.
I don't know what joke you've got or which one it's for, so I hope I've got it ahead of it somewhere.
Oh, joke's annoying though. If it's in the top 25, we're not doing that tonight. I might forget my joke.
Yeah. Do you want to say the joke? Just get it. So you've got it.
Oh, okay. All right. I couldn't get behind the live action Beauty and the Beast because I thought, wait, Emma Watson already did this in Harry Potter with Ron.
Oh boy.
Because he's ginger.
No, I got it. You couldn't help making a ginger joke. I really shouldn't have opened this door for you. Go on, 32.
Right, 32, yes. Back to the action movie from the 90s with a fantastic main theme that I used to like blasting out the speakers, and that is Speed. Pop quiz hot shot. There's a bus. Once it goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed. If it drops below 50, the bus will blow up. Now let's forget that Keanu Reeves could just shoot the tires before it hits 50 and the entire movie's averted. Sure, you can nitpick these things, but it's a fun-ass premise. And it's a good, fun action movie. Honestly, the only complaint is that the third act feels a little bit long-winded because it's like, oh, this whole new setup. But it does kind of work in the sense that Act 1 was the elevator stuff, the middle of the movie is all the bus stuff, and then we have the subway kind of section of the movie.
I think it falls off for me because I feel like it's a bit deflated after the bus thing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But we started to catch Dennis Hopper though.
No, I get it. I feel like it's too much afterwards.
Plus, fast talking Joe Martin's in there. It's funny to me, and I remember listening to the commentary of this that at one point they had Keanu say "whoa," or "whoa." It's hard to say that on its own without it sounding weird. Like whoa, like see now I'm saying it like Bill and Ted, but he actually said, "Can we take that out of the script because people only know me from Bill and Ted, and I don't want to be typecast." And I was like, "No, but you're not saying it the same way. It's just you're actually just kind of surprised at what you're seeing." But it's funny to me because I knew him from Speed and then Matrix. Like that, I've still not seen Bill and Ted. I'll be doing that soon because me and Matt will be doing that in Overload. But I just think it's funny. It's a bit of a time capsule thing.
It's funny how that's definitely not what most people think of now.
It's not, no. It's to the point now where he's happy to go back and do a third one as a middle-aged man because, well, everyone just thinks of me as different things now. But no, Sandra Bullock's in there as well. They've got a fun sort of, action movie romance going back and forth between them. I will critique one of the worst lines of movie dialogue in history of movies is in this. When Keanu Reeves sees the bomb under the bus and says, "It's big enough to blow a hole in the world." That is a horrible line of dialogue, and I do not approve of it. But otherwise, there's a lot of fun dialogue, fun action sequences, and it's just a really fun premise that really, singular, puts everything in the focus of this bus, and like everything's like, okay, how do we do this with a moving bus? And there's a lot of fun stuff, a lot of fun hurdles that come into play. Plus, Alan Ruck's one of the passengers. I like him quite a bit from Spin City. He was in Ferris Bueller. Most people probably know him from that when he was younger. But
yeah, cool.
He was in the first season of The Exorcist as well, more recently. But there you go. What's your 31?
My 31 is one that you've had earlier as well. This is Predator 2.
Ah, good. Another correct choice.
I mean, they're all correct. This is opinion based. There is no wrong.
And yet,
I say that, and then I look at what I've got at 30. Oh, I can't wait.
And yet you defy rules, you defy logic, and you're somehow wrong, even though it's an opinion most of the time.
Just hold that thought. But no, Predator 2, we said it all earlier, but something that we didn't mention is I really like what they do with the music and the score and adapt it for all the jungle themes and put it into the city. I thought that was really fun the way they did that. But I really liked how they expanded out the lore at the end of the movie and really blew it open.
Yeah, plus Gary Busey.
Obviously. And
Jake Busey's in the new one. Oh, I can't wait. So, my number 31 is Life is Beautiful. This is, I'm forgetting his name now. Damn it. He wrote, directed, and starred in this. And it's a film, and, typically you wouldn't expect this to be a cheery, upbeat film, but he's a Jewish man, and this goes through, Nazi Germany, putting him in a concentration camp with his family. It's a love story about him meeting his wife, having their kid, and then get sent to a concentration camp. It is the classic style of using humour to kind of mix in with a real serious topic, and it is absolutely Roberto Benigni, that's his name. It came to me. It's an Italian film, so it is foreign, and it is utterly hilarious, beautiful, and sad all at the same time. It's got a hopeful final message, but you feel the pain even more because of how likeable and fun. Because he's this kind of wacky, almost slapstick character, and he's trying to impress the woman of his dreams, and he's constantly smiling and making a fool of himself, but in a really sort of sweet way. And right to the end, he's making sure that his child is smiling no matter what's happening, and it's a passion project by one person essentially. I mean, obviously it's a crew and everything, but again, written, directed, and starring. This is his show.
Yeah.
It's very good. I highly recommend it.
Okay, cool. So here's one that Peter's gonna hate with a passion. I've got this here, number 30. This is Dogma.
I've seen this one.
I know you have. This is why I know you hate it. This isn't one you just hate by reputation, because, of course, this is a Kevin Smith movie. This is one that you've seen and actively dislike.
I do.
Which I don't understand why, because I think this movie is a blast. This is so much fun. But, I mean, what do you not like about Dogma?
Well, it's been a while, so...
I don't understand. It's got some fantastic quippy dialogue. Outrageous premise.
There's something about Kevin Smith's dialogue.
Doesn't work for you.
It's just a little bit too smug. It's kind of like why I don't like Deadpool most of the time. There's a smugness to it.
There is a smugness. I can't argue with that. I mean, there was then. I don't think it's there as much anymore. I think he's mellowed out a bit in his older age. Have gone, hey, maybe I was a bit of a dick.
Yeah, I thought Jay and Silent Bob were really annoying. I don't know that much. I remember that.
Yeah, I think Jade and Silent Bob are fine in this one. Some movies they're better than others.
Yeah, and then the whole angel plot. I think by the time I got to the end, I was just kind of like, okay, it's like you're trying to go out of your way to be like risque with this.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. You got the Buddy Christ, of course, which is
So
been used to extensively on the internet.
I'm just nah, it's not for me.
No, it's. I think it's a blast. It's not the Kevin Smith film I'd recommend to as a first viewing for someone like this. This isn't where you jump in. This is definitely for one that's for people who are already fans of his work. But I feel like if you do like some of his other films, this is definitely one that you should check out.
All right, well, my number 30 then is actually the one and only possible Christopher Nolan film that I could have squeezed in a 90s list. But that is Following, his ultra low budget film before he even did Memento. This, you'll appreciate this from a sound perspective, is they've got a scene at the start that's kind of like an interrogation scene. And the only reason why it's there, the reason why they start off with this, is because they knew that they were going to be shooting this very sort of rough and loose, and like they're going to be shooting out in the street without permits and that kind of thing, and they're trying to get their film done. And they knew that because they were shooting quick, this is also why it's in black and white, because it's actually much quicker to light for black and white potentially than it is for color. So it made their life easier to shoot things quicker in the time they had in each location, and especially when they're doing sort of guerrilla style out in the streets. And so they had this scene in this interrogation style room purely because they could shoot this in a stage where they could control the audio. And the idea being that if the audio is bad at the start of the film, people will check out. But if it starts off good for a scene and then gets slightly worse, the hope is that you're already pulled out of the story, it doesn't matter. And that's not to say that you watch the rest of the film and say, "Oh my god, this audio is awful." It's fine. Like if it's from a professional standard, you can nitpick it, but from like anyone's normal point of view, you're not going to notice anything. But it's a really smart little small film about someone who chooses to follow people just for fun and then gets entangled up in her life, and then it leads to what's going on in her life and people that she's involved with, and there's some twists, there's some turns, and it does almost make me long for him doing something really simple again, like not something huge and like, oh, this is this big philosophical idea. Just a really smart little thriller, because that's what this is. And I find this a really inspiring film on just how little, like for example, at one point there's like a gangster who uses a hammer to kill someone. And the reason why it's a hammer is because they couldn't get a gun, and they thought, well, if we can't get a real proper looking gun that's going to look and sound good, I don't want to do it. So we'll use a hammer, because that'll seem really vicious.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is one of I think it's one of only two Nolan films I've not seen. But I do want to, obviously. I just haven't got around to it. But that is something that I love in not just in filmmaking, but in any medium of you have to work to your budget and you have to be creative, and you can't let that ruin your idea. You have to be able to work around it and function to your limits.
This is the sort of thing you look at when you're a student filmmaker and go, I could conceivably pull this off if I was smart enough like him. if I could pull this together theoretically.
In terms of the resources, he didn't have that much more than you had available.
Yeah. But it's really good for what it is, and I find it really inspiring because of how little he's working with and what he pulls off with it. And it's got this great atmosphere because it is this black and white kind of noir kind of thing. So really good. What's your 29?
My 29. This is one that we covered on this show early on. This is a Delicatessen.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned it earlier when you.
Yes, recently. We did it recently.
Fine, a year ago, recent, whatever. Take your pick. But, obviously if you want really in-depth thoughts, you can go and check out the review of that because we're shills. But it's got just a phenomenal atmosphere to it. This, this European atmosphere that you don't see all that often. It's kind of like this dark gothic, twisted world.
Kind of steampunky.
Yeah, kind of steampunky, and it's full of all this really dark humor.
Yeah. I could use another big steampunk sci-fi movie. There's not enough steampunk.
There's not, is there?
There's not. Yeah, good steampunk.
Steampunk's kind of died out. I feel like it had I saw it a lot in the early 2000s. Not necessarily in film, just in general. There's a lot of steampunk.
Yeah, they need a good steampunk movie franchise.
Yeah.
But hey, alright, cool. A good movie. Didn't quite make my list, but really good. Number 29 for me is a film that I actually did recently with Tim on streams. That is Audition. Again, it's a horror movie, but it's Japan that's filling in the good horror movies here. So this is a really slow burn horror movie. It's a slow dread build horror film that plays with sexism and societal kind of like rules and norms, and kind of a villain who challenges those in a really menacing way. And just because the arrogance of the main character in the film is that he thinks, oh, I've decided that I want a wife. I can basically shop for a wife. And he's like a movie producer, so he sets up like a fake audition for like a movie, basically just with the intention of interviewing all these girls and picking who he wants to try and ask out on a date. Which, if anything, is more relevant now, given, the post-Weinstein world that we're in.
Yeah.
This idea. And it's like, okay, you're not necessarily a horrible person because you seem like you're treating everyone nicely, but this is seedy as shit. You're doing this just to do this. So it really plays with who's right, who's wrong, and, kind of like, okay, this darkness is coming for him. And, for the first, like, half of the movie, it doesn't even feel like a horror film. And there's just one random cutaway at one point that lets you know, oh, by the way, this is a horror film. Be terrified of what's coming later. And you just this slow build is because I remember liking it, but rewatching it, in the last couple of months for streams, I'm like, oh, this is actually held up really well. This is really goddamn good. So that's Audition. Highly recommend it.
Cool. What number are we on?
28.
28. There we go. So this is Dazed and Confused. So I mentioned Linklater already, but this is the comedy.
One I've not seen, in fact.
Have you not?
No.
Oh, this is a fantastically great. It's this it's all about not moving on from being a teen, being stuck in your ways a bit, and the comedy of that, and how at a certain point it kind of becomes sad to be stuck in the past.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is this not the one where McConaughey gets his all right?
Yeah.
I can't do the accent, so I'm not even going to try and fake it.
No, don't. But no, that's the one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a great movie, and I'm surprised you've not seen this one actually.
For whatever reason, it's just never.
Just one of those that I assumed you would have, but no, I really saw it quite a while ago now, and it's one of those I'm happy to revisit.
Even the biggest cinephiles amongst us will have a couple of those weird,
of course,
zeitgeist movies that they're just missing for some reason. But I'll get to them all eventually.
It's one of those where where the ones where they specifically actually play into your tastes that it's expected. Right.
Oh, you think this plays into my taste?
I think it plays into your taste of comedy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay, my number 28 is just to get to the sort of the sad, bittersweet dramas. We have The Green Mile, which is a Frank Darabont directed film based on a Stephen King book, and this big man John Coffey has been convicted of murdering girls, but he of course didn't really do it, and he has a superpower. He can heal, and Tom Hanks plays this prison guard, and it's basically the story of him and the other guards basically learning how much of a good person this John Coffey is, and kind of learn to trust them and how he impacts their lives and how they impact his life. And it is this heartwarming story, and there's also a really creepy performance by Sam Rockwell, probably one of the earliest Sam Rockwell movies I saw, I think. Yeah. Really, really dark stuff. And it's great. I feel like it basks in the shadow a little bit of Shawshank, which is the other sort of prison movie directed by Darabont, based on a Stephen King story.
Not too far apart either.
Yeah, it was 94 and this was 99. So but it's fantastic. Like, it's great. I mean, it's a long movie. It's like a 3-hour movie. Like, you just sit down, you're there, for the night. But it's a journey. By the end of it, you'll have tears in your eyes. You'll be along for that journey, and you'll be upset. You'll be rooting for the characters, and ultimately maybe this can't work out, but you're really hoping for it. It's really good, and I think I think it plays with a lot of things as well. I think it plays with racial discrimination. It plays with due process. It plays with a lot of things on top of the actual heart of the story as well. So no, I would recommend.
The length is one of the reasons I haven't watched it, because when a film's that long, you got to be in the mood to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's we're quite busy a lot of the time, so it's not often that I find myself going, okay, I've got 4 hours where I can watch a movie.
That basically means that at some point we need to do it for Influx, and that way you
It
can't
it, it does. It's the only way to just that I
you
can
can't talk
force
yourself out
myself
of
into
it.
it.
Yeah, no,
It's
there's a
true
good way
because
to do it at some point.
I do find a lot of the movies that I watch now, I do find myself looking at the runtime, going, okay, how much time have I got? I'm looking, they're usually under 2 hours now. I mean, not always, but just because they're like, oh, I can justify an hour and a half. I can fit that in. But if I look at 3 hours, I'm like, I probably should be doing something else.
Yeah, but one you should get to though because it is really really good. What's your 27?
My 27 is we're back to Bond. We got GoldenEye. This is the best of the Brosnan movies, of course. And this was kind of a Casino Royale sort of situation of kind of back to basics a little bit, strips away some of the gadgets, does a bit more. I mean, it's still a bit ridiculous because it's 90s Bond. Don't get me wrong, bit big and over the top at points, but it's not full of gadgets everywhere. So it's a bit more down to earth in that sense. And the opening sequence for the going into the dam and then the runway and the plane is one of my favorite Bond action sequences at all. It's just fantastic.
All right, I made my opinions on Bond clearly
No,
earlier
no,
on,
no.
and I haven't seen it, so I shall swiftly move on to my number 27, which we're actually into a horror film and possibly one of the most original horror films of the decade, and that is the Blair Witch Project, which is one I didn't like that much the first time I saw it when I was younger, and it was watching it again for Screams last year that birthed this new appreciation for it. Suddenly, kind of like how Following's this ultra low budget movie, I kind of had this appreciation for what they did, what they achieved with this film, with so goddamn little.
Yeah, no,
That,
I
that
agree.
this is a couple of cameras out in the woods, and it's mostly imagination. It's almost the horror version of Stalker in a lot of ways. Um,
No,
but
it's funny. I'm gonna just jump in here because it's actually my 26.
oh really?
Yeah,
This always happens with one movie. It's
does,
always one
doesn't it?
movie where we
It
end
does.
up almost matching.
Yeah, it's funny because I liked this when I first saw it, a long time ago, and then I kind of went off it because it had this effect of, it spawned all the knockoffs. It
Oh yeah,
spawned the found footage genre,
found footage, yeah.
and so it kind of became tainted in my mind. And then I rewatched it maybe 3 years ago, and I'm like, God damn it, this is a fantastic movie.
It is. No, it's really effective. It's really creepy. And it builds this believable amount of dread. Even though we're talking about a supernatural force, it never feels like it's being cheap. One of the things I didn't like about the new one, Blair Witch, is that it just went outright into, no, there's a big demon witch thing and she's hunting you down. like,
Yeah, no, this. I mean, the endings are a bit more open, less open.
When it comes to
Most of the movie, it's like, oh, is there something there or isn't there?
in fact, I mean, I think there's a theory in the movie to explain everything away without any. Well, maybe not everything, but most of it. Like why the reason why it ends the way it does. I think there's a way to explain it without any supernatural elements.
Okay.
If you want to hear that theory, go watch me and Tim talk about it on Screams After Midnight. I went into depth about how I thought something was happening with certain things. I don't want to spoil it. It's all spoilers.
I'm intrigued because I didn't check out that review, so maybe I will.
But it's worth checking out the review. If you just search Screams After Midnight Blair Witch Project. We did 1 and 2 together in a 2 for obviously the second movie, not so good. But this is so good. And one of the things I brought up in the review as well, and you'll possibly relate to this. Although maybe you didn't do this as much on location, but at one point they're when they can't get back because obviously they get lost. They start panicking because they rented the equipment out of the university or the college, and they're like, shit, this is booked to go back in today, damn it. And I'm like, damn, I know that stress. I've been there.
I've been there. Yeah, I know. I remember booking out something from the university, and I took it home, and then the next day was a snow day.
Oh.
And I was like, but the university was still open. They were still open. They were insisting that we come in, but I'm like, well, I can't really get there. There's shit ton of snow everywhere.
I think that should be quite fair to say. Hey, phone in and say, hey, I can't get in because none of the transport's
I did.
working.
They still weren't very happy about it though. You know what they're like.
Oh yeah, but I mean, if it's not possible, it's not possible. Like,
I know, but they were not impressed. They were like, well, we kind of want this equipment back. I'm like, well, tough shit.
They can fact check what you're saying as well. It's not like
Yeah,
you have to take
they
your
can
word
look
for
out
it.
a window and see that.
Yeah, or even specifically, they can look up. If you're saying, "Oh, my train's not running," they can check that. They can check
It
the
can.
trains and the buses and everything else. So but anyway, the point is I connected to them on a fundamental level. Like I related to the characters to an extent because I'm like, "Yo, I've been in this
It's
situation,"
realistic,
kind of.
right?
Yeah, not being lost in the woods and terrified for my life, but everything else.
No, no, it's realistic in that they're not jumping to all these things
Oh, sure,
immediately.
yeah, yeah.
They're
It takes
oh,
time.
damn it, yeah.
It takes time. It takes some build up. It builds really naturally.
It's got a really fantastic pace to it.
Yeah, and the characters getting on each other's nerves throughout the film works really well. It's very effective.
Mm.
But yeah, I'll tell you my theory after.
Oh, okay, cool.
After we're done recording. But if you want to hear it at home, yeah, go check out the Blair Witch review with me and Tim, who didn't like it as much. I was trying to convince him the entire review. No, Tim, it's really good. This is why it's really good.
I feel like it's gone through like a period now where people look down on it again.
Mm.
You know, like obviously at the time it was very popular.
It's also very authentic. I feel like a lot of found footage movies since, they always look really clean and professional. And I think what helps this one a lot is that it does look so rough. It does feel so, you know, gritty and grimy and like.
And it remains one of the best found footage movies.
Yeah, it's actually one of the few movies in existence where there's actually not even a reason to upgrade to Blu-ray because it doesn't actually impact the image at all.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, I'm sure there's probably extras and shit on it and, other things to make it worth your while, but
it's not necessary for picture quality.
yeah. If nothing, I mean, from my perspective, it's just to match the rest of the cases, so it's the blue case.
That's it. It's not even the blue case because I've got some cases where they're white or they're red, whatever. It's the height.
Oh, the height, yeah, but I've got them organised so that any weird cases are like on their own section.
I've got a few
neatness.
mixed in here or there.
The box sets go on their own shelf, kind of thing.
Oh, obviously that, but there's a couple of just this is a clear case, but it's not part of like a collection or anything that should go elsewhere. It's just for some reason this one was a clear case.
Yeah, but the height's the big thing. I agree. You want that even height across the row. Anyway, but yeah, Blair Witch Project, very very good. So that was your 26. So my 26, to go back round, is Heat. This is the Michael Mann film, which Christopher Nolan's actually pointed out inspired some of the Dark Knight and stuff. I don't know if have you seen Heat?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen Collateral?
I've seen about half of it.
Okay, that was on my 2000s list. I love that film. You have seen Thief though, because we did that in the show.
Yes.
That was a movie. Michael Mann's hit and miss with me. There's a lot of films where I'm not as keen on, but I feel like every so often he pumps out just like a classic, and Heat is kind of up there. I don't love it as much as Collateral. I think Collateral's an even better film. And Thief as well, I think I'd probably rank above it, but Heat is fantastic. It's some great action sequences. These bank robbers, again, you get Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, get an all-star cast. William Fichtner, who's one of these like smaller bit players who pops up all over the places in here as well. It's very slick. It's Michael Mann. It does that thing where it sets up what the ending's going to be halfway through, but it doesn't matter. It still works when it happens at the end. It hits hard. It's very slick. The gunshots in the audio mix, you'll appreciate, are all very loud. Like, that's the movie when the gunfight starts happening halfway through, where you're like, oh, I need to turn this down, because the neighbours are going to complain.
We were watching something the other day. We were watching for a review. I can't remember what it was, but it might have been 3%. And I didn't mention it in the review because I just it slipped my mind. But the gun sounded really awful. It just sounded really weak and pitiful.
All right.
I was very disappointed.
I think it's fairly known that gunshots in movies are always much quieter than they actually are because you want it to sound good in the mix. Heat is notable. I mean, I'm not saying Heat is it's what they actually would be volume-wise in the room, but it's definitely much louder than they usually are. Yeah. It's like, oh shit, gunshots. Like, you feel it. But no, Heat's very good. So what's your 25? No, actually.
That's it.
The last. 26 is the last one. We're done. That's the end of part 1. There you go. I didn't even realise.
Yeah. That was real neat.
I was just about to keep going. Let's do all 50. No, we're not.
I think I threw you off when my 26 was the same because you didn't have your lead-ins like into your final one.
Yeah. Usually I'll say, oh, and this is the last one of this one, and I didn't do that because I was, that's your fault. So it's the Blair Witch's fault. One and the same, quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned. So that has been the part 1. This has been 50 through 26 of our top 50 movies in the 90s. Like I say, much weirder list, a lot of mixing of like weird nostalgia kids movies with some actual serious good films. I'm sure the top 25 will be a bit more dense with absolute classics, but That'll be coming next week. Like we say, we're going to do the Patreon pick movie in between the two parts. You can expect My Neighbor Totoro sort of mid next week. And that works. I mean, it's a week earlier on Patreon, but it still works if you're watching this on YouTube.
It'll line up.
Yeah, it'll still be early next week. It'll just be a week later than what the patrons got it. But that's the thing. Worth mentioning, of course, if you want to obviously comment and let us know what you thought of our picks and stuff. But yeah, it's worth mentioning. We mentioned Patreon, of course. For patrons who are watching this early, the vote for the month of for during May for June's episode is still up, and it is 4 movies that all ranked quite highly on our last countdown, which was our sci-fi countdown. So you got 2001: Space Odyssey, you got Gravity, you've got The Thing, and you've got Moon as the 4 options. So there's still time to vote if you're a patron. If you're watching this on YouTube publicly and you're thinking of being a patron, that vote will have ended, but the next one will be up, whatever it may be. We don't know yet, but it'll be there.
We'll decide next week when we need to.
Oh, that's it. It was like the 7th before this one went up, so maybe it won't be there quite yet. But it'll be up soon if it's not.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, check out patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for bonuses and various other things. All the different audio feeds and YouTube shows we do are all there on a nice big list with handy links. And of course, we have 1.21 Extra, which is like a monthly discussion show, which is starting in June as a bonus for patrons at the $3 tier and up, so you can check out that. But there's other stuff there as well for all the other shows we do. But that is us. So get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Like and subscribe, all the usual stuff. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys, and we'll see you next time.